Steal your heart away when Irish eyes are smiling. Steal your heart away.
Hi everybody, welcome to Our Lady of Mount Carmel Kitchen for our 13th cooking lesson since April 15th. It's so good to have you here. And we're celebrating my Irish heritage. Now, I'm half Italian, I'm half Irish. My good friend, Father Henry Boda, says you're half Irish, but you're all Italian. Whatever the case may be, I'm happy to be here to share some great recipes that I grew up with my mom making her Irish food that my father would put up with on certain days. If it didn't have tomato sauce on it, he was unsure if he should eat it, but he would put up with it, and we always had a great time. We have special celebrity guests here this evening. On the far end near the window is our school principal, Mrs. Jessica Saglio. She's been with us for 3 years, and we'll be talking a little bit about our school as I'm cooking. And then next to her is Mrs. Kathy Guinness. She's the head of the chairperson of our school board, and she is also the vice principal of Bishop Stang High School, where a number of our kids from our school go to high school. So we're so happy to have you both with us. It should be a fun evening as well. So when we started the show, you saw my birth announcement when I was born on July 9th, 1955. I'm just going to start with a funny story as we begin. When I was born, my father and my mother decided to name me after my father, Henry. And his middle name is Pasco, which means Patrick, and Zinno, Jr. So, but my mother determined that on the birth certificate that she filled out, she would write Henry Patrick, the Irish side, Zinno, Jr., and put all the other information in, sent it into City Hall in Providence. Well, it came back from City Hall, and the document was there, and Patrick was crossed out, and they put Pasco in. And the little notation, they didn't have sticky notes back then, the little notation was, he can't be junior unless he has his father's full name. He has to be Henry Pasco Zinno Jr., and that's what it was. Well, fast forward many years later, my sister Barbara has his first child, and his name is Patrick. So we got the Patrick in there, even though it wasn't me. It's my sister Barbara's first child. So let's look at some food we're going to do here. The first thing I'm going to show you how to make, well, in addition to my Jack Daniel's Martini, which Manhattan, which I always have, and we'll take a little sip of this and then start our little cooking. We're going to do, cheers. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Gin gin.
Cheers.
Very good. So what we're going to do first is a Guinness Irish beef stew. Now, my mother made beef stew. She never made it with Guinness, because we were kids back then, so we couldn't have any of that stuff. But the alcohol burns out anyways. But this is a lovely recipe, and it goes great in the freezer, too, so you can freeze it, huh? So we get the little the stove going, and what we want to first do is put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil into this Creuset Dutch oven. It's a great this dish. They're a little expensive, but they're great to have for stews or all kinds of things, huh? So we're going to get that kind of going a little bit, get it a little warm, and while it's doing that, Mrs. Aglio, been here with us 3 years. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about Mount Carmel School, because maybe somebody's watching here, lives in Bristol, maybe considering the possibility. What can you tell us about our school?
So Mount Carmel is a pre-K through 8th grade elementary school, and we have a separate program for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. So we're able to meet students where they are. I think one of the best things about our school, one of the things that really made me laugh when I started in speaking with the teachers, the first question I asked them was, what's the best part about Mount Carmel? And every single person, whether they were coached by Father Zinno or not certain yet, every single person, their first answer was the community here. And I can say after 3 years that the best part about Mount Carmel School is the community. Everyone feels like they're home and they're with their families. Some of the feedback that we get from our preschool families is that the teachers make the children feel like they're with a parent who loves them and cares for them. And I think that's the best thing that we can say, that we have staff who support our students regardless of where they are, how old they are. They know who they are, and they care for them. And that has just been a wonderful thing to experience as an administrator coming in to our school and getting to know more about the children, about the staff, how well they care for everyone.
And one of the great things this year, we opened on September 13th, was it?
It's such a blur.
I know, everything goes right.
Couldn't
But we
tell ya.
opened around September 13th, September 14th, and we've been open nonstop. We have not shut down 5 days a week. Our teachers, our principal, our maintenance department, the families have kept us all safe with all the sanitizing things and the masks, and we've tried to have a lot of fun with it as well. But we've been open nonstop, which is great, and we're very, very happy about that. So now I'm going to put in some stew beef. Now I got this, that's the sizzle you want. You want to hear the sizzle. Sizzle is flavor. So I'm going to put this in. Now I bought this at Stop and Shop here in town. Now I shouldn't say the problem because I like Stop and Shop, but this stew beef is a little bit. They're large pieces, so when you make stew, you really want to get stuff on your spoon. So I really had to cut every piece down and salt and pepper them, So I did that. It wasn't really that difficult to do. So too bad we don't have smell-o-vision, because if we had smell-o-vision, you could smell this right now, and this smells so good, Just anytime you put any pork or beef or even chicken into olive oil with salt and pepper, just that alone, then when you add the onions, then the whole thing takes off, The thing on Sunday afternoon here in the rectory during Lent and Easter and Christmas is that the rectory smells like incense and garlic, because we have incense going on all morning long, and then you cook something nice, and it always tends to have garlic or onions. So Father Bob Marciano, who's on our last show, the president of Bishop Henrican, had said, Italian rectories, incense and garlic, that's what it smells like. And it's actually not a bad smell, if you think about it for a while. So, Mrs. Guinness, you've been our chairperson on our school board for a while, and then your vice principal is Stang. How do those things work together?
I think they work together beautifully. I'm going to talk a little bit about being the chairman of the board for Our Lady of Mount Carmel first, and just to add to what Jessica said, that it's such a community. I mean, we have board meetings 5 or 6 times a year, but I can tell you that when I walk into that building, the people are so warm and receptive. The teachers know me, I know them, and it's just a beautiful thing. And then for the Stang piece, I've been at Bishop Stang for 36 years.
No, really?
Yes, really.
Oh, wow.
36 years. And I think one of the best things that I can say is that sense of community continues. So that when students come from either Our Lady of Mount Carmel or wherever they're coming from, it's still that sense of community that draws them. And their families. I'm sure you feel the same way. It's not just the kids. It's a partnership.
Right.
So it's wonderful.
That's great.
And to see the connection. I'm all about Catholic education. So to see them go from Our Lady of Mount Carmel to come up to Bishop Stang, it's heartwarming.
Oh.
It's great.
So you've been at Stang almost as long as I've been a priest, because I was 38 years a priest. And you've been 36 years at Stang. That's great.
Right.
Father Steve is always quick to remind me when I say something like, back in 1989 when I was doing something, he said, I wasn't really born yet that year. So, no food for you tonight, Father.
You really weren't born when I started it.
So now we've browned the meat a little bit. You can see that. So now I'm going to put in, I already chopped up the onions. So it's just 2 onions I'm putting in. I'm going to let them cook for just a little bit. Add some flavor to it. Because what happens with the stew is that in the end it stews. And so you can either leave it on the stove top with all the ingredients for a couple hours at lower, but I put it in the oven at 300 degrees for a couple hours. All right. So now the onions are getting their flavor mixed together with the meat. So that is good. And then we'll put that on the side there. And then I'm going to put a little garlic. Now you say Irish stew, garlic? Yes. And there you have it. That's all you have to say. Of course, Irish stew with garlic. Now what I'm going to do is put in some flour. This will thicken it. Now, some people prefer stew with just a mild broth, a very loose broth. I like it to have a little thickness to it, all right? So I'm going to put in the flour. Now, if you're gluten-free, then cornstarch would be fine. And I'm pretty sure, Bob McKenna can correct me if he's watching, or Donna, they're on our school board. Bob is on our school board. And I'm pretty sure cornstarch is corn, right? So it's got to be gluten-free. But that's another good thickening agent, huh? So you can see all that working together, right? And you can actually see that the moisture has been absorbed, all right? And then the other thing, you cook it, maybe a couple minutes, you want to get the flour taste out of it, okay? So you want it to thicken, but you don't want it to taste like pasty flour, you know? So, anyways, there we go. Now, the fun part. We have a little Guinness. Now, always use the cans. The bottle stuff is really rot gut. But use the cans, okay? I'm going to pour this in. I brought 2 cans out. Let me just put this up a little bit higher, but I think I'll only need 1. So in the end, the Guinness flavor is in the background. It's not like, you know, it doesn't taste alcohol-y, if that's a word. Is that a word, Mrs. Aguilera? I'm not sure. It won't win a spelling bee in our school. But it's just in the background. So once you finally cook it for the 2 hours, it's just in the background. And then we're going to add all the different things we have chopped up here. Let me find there it is. We have potatoes. And I cut these up all beforehand, so it's just easy to put in. But usually when I'm making this just for Father Steve and I'm just kind of making it as I go along. You know, I like potatoes, and they're Irish. So I'll put a few more of those in. And then we have leeks. And again, I chopped these up all this afternoon, have them all set, ready to go, so it'll be all set. What else do I have here? I love, and my mother did too, turnip. And turnip in a soup is really good, huh? Put that in. You can see it's coming to the top, okay? But what happens is it kind of all melts down when you cook it. So we're going to add some beef broth shortly. We have here some carrots and celery. I probably won't put all of this in.
So there's no real specific order, Father, huh?
No, not really. Well, you do the meat, you brown the meat, and then the onions and the garlic. But then once that's done,
The veggies can kind of...
veggies, yeah, because they're going to cook for 2 hours, okay? And then what I do is I go in the refrigerator and see whatever vegetable I have left over. So the last time I made it, because we actually have one already done here, I won't show you yet, but I had green beans, I chopped them up. This time I had Brussels sprouts, so I chopped those up. And actually, if you kind of chiffonade them, you just slice them so they're just thin.
Nice.
They're fine. And again, if you don't like Brussels sprouts, you will in this dish. They really are decent, huh? Okay, you can see it's already to the top there. Now, I need a bay leaf or 2 or 3. I had to go out and buy them today because I thought I had plenty of them, but I didn't. Let me get a knife here. My mother would kill me if she saw me doing that. Sticking a knife in, like, you'll kill yourself. There you go. Put the knife down. 2 would be enough. Now, it called for fresh thyme, this recipe. Can I? All right, don't tell my mom. God rest her soul. But they didn't have any fresh thyme, so I just got some ground thyme, just a little bit, because thyme can be pretty strong. And then all is dill. Dill is essential to this dish. It's a strong flavor, and then this is about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Okay?
And that'll
Okay,
help give it the color, too.
It sure will. It sure will. And then just Stop and Shop beef stock. If you have your own, you make your own beef stock, that's wonderful. If you don't make your own, then as Ina Garten says, store-bought will do. I make my own chicken stock. I don't make my own beef stock. In fact, I'm not sure if I would know how to do that. You have to boil beef. I guess it's like a boiled dinner or something. Yeah.
That's what my grandmother would do.
She'd boil, yeah, and then make,
save
yeah.
those beef
I've made vegetable stock.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of chicken stock because when I make a whole chicken, then I take all the meat off the bones and then just boil the bones, and it works wonderful. All right, so there you have it. This is ready to go into the oven. And what I do is I check it every now and then because it melts down. Sometimes it needs a little more broth or water or whatever the case may be. But now this is ready to go. So about 200 degrees in 300 degrees in an oven, and just let it sit there, watch it every now and then, and turn it. And then, let me get my cover here. And then when it's finished, it actually will look just like this. Huh?
Wow.
All right. So, and we're going to have this later, and it's really, really good. So you can see how it kind of melts down, huh? All right. And then what I do, when I finally take it out of the oven, I'll put frozen peas in.
Okay.
You don't put the frozen peas in at the beginning because they'll get a mouche-à-mouche. You know, they'll just disappear to nothing. So you put this in the oven here. Now don't look at my dirty oven. I meant to clean it this afternoon, but I forgot to. So I'll just put it right in. And this will be ready. What time is it now? It's 6:20, 7:20, 8:20. That will be ready, but we'll be...
What temperature, Father?
That's 300 degrees. So it's a lighter, the top oven is 350 for the other thing we're doing, but the bottom oven is 300, huh? So anyway, so that's good, you know. Is there an interesting story from our school that always makes you laugh or makes you happy, or a grade you go into and they're always joy-filled? I don't know. I teach 7th and 8th grade religion, and they're tons of fun. 7th and 8th grades are tons of fun. We had them in the church. I teach in the church now this past year, and socially distant and all that kind of stuff. But they're a great group to teach. And they always have some very interesting questions, you know. One of the best questions I had was about the altar and the relics in the altar. So every Catholic altar has some relics in it, a lock of hair of a saint, or a chip of one of their bones, or a piece of their clothing. They were fascinated that all the altars had that. Anything of interest there over these years? I don't know. I mean, me, everything's interesting, I suppose. Huh?
Right, definitely. You know, if you need to be kept humble, a great place to go is kindergarten. So I had what I thought was a very lovely sweater jacket. It's very comfortable, nice and warm. So as parents were dropping their kids off at school, some of the moms were like, "Oh, I love that sweater," and I'm like, "I do too." And I walk in to do lunch duty in kindergarten, and one of the boys looks at me and goes, "Why are you still wearing your bathrobe?" And
That's
I
a
said,
riot. There you have it.
Yeah, I should have learned a little humility.
There you have it. I bet high school students can be even worse.
They can be very honest.
I'm sure they
Very
can be. I'm
honest,
sure they
yes.
can be. I remember I went to an all-boys high school. In fact, I've only been to Catholic schools my whole life. I went to St. Augustine's School in Providence. I went to Our Lady of Providence High School. I went to Stonehill College. And then I went to the oldest still existing Catholic university in the world, the University of Louvain in Belgium. So all I've known is Catholic education all my life. So I'm a product. I'm hoping I'm a good product of Catholic education. I hope I am. And I've been in this parish now for how many years? 28 years, 29 years, just in this parish alone. So it's a great parish with a great school, great people as well. So now the next thing we're going to do is my mother's Irish bread cake. Now, most people are used to soda bread. I never had that when I was a kid. My mother would make this recipe, which her mother made, and I think her mother made it. And it's more of a cake kind of thing. It's not really soda bread. And I remember the first time I had Irish soda bread, I thought, I don't like this. It's like really dry. It's not like my mother's, you know. And I've made it ever since, and it's really, really good. It's great when you serve it. She would always serve it with the main meal. So if she made ham and cabbage, she always said that corned beef and cabbage was not Irish. It was ham and cabbage. But you wouldn't have it for dessert, even though it was kind of cakeish. But the best time to have it was to put it in the toaster with butter, with with my glass of milk back then. But now with coffee, it's like, it is so good. So let me show you what we have to do. The first thing we need to do is you get a stick of butter, and it has to be softened. So you let the butter stay out. And I remember back when I was first ordained a priest, Rena Willette, the housekeeper and cook at St. Philip's, the butter was always out. It was never refrigerated. It just was always here. She said, "Oh no, you don't refrigerate butter. You have to have it soft." So it just sat there, and I thought, we're all going to die, but we didn't, so it was fine. So you take one stick of butter, and it's softened. You put it into your mixing bowl, and then you have 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So I've already measured out 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And I'm going to bring it over to my mixing stand, right over here. And I'm going to cream them together. So they want the sugar and the butter to come together. You may get a look at that, Father. Because if the butter's hard, it's not going to cream the butter. And if it's melted, you don't want to put the butter in the microwave and have it melted butter. It's got to be just softened butter. And then this is really a key to the dish. We can't go without that step. And luckily with these KitchenAid things, you can, you kind of speed it up and move it along. But it's not a difficult process. I mean, it's just softened butter and sugar, and you kind of get it to where it looks right. And after doing this recipe for so many years, I know what looks right to me. And I'll show Mrs. Sagler and Mrs. Guinness what looks right to me. And that looks right. So it almost looks like a frosting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. So can you see that, Father? So it almost comes together like a little frosting-ish thing. All right. And then to that, the next thing you do is you add 1 egg. Huh? So I'm just going to crack it, and it's going to go right in. And then you mix that in till it gets to a good consistency. In fact, I'm going to put it just a little bit higher. It won't splatter on your Father there. Okay. Perfect. Now you add the rest of the ingredients. You're going to add to that, you add 3 cups of flour. I'm just going to take this off right like that. 3 cups of flour goes in. Don't mind my dirty sink here. All those cooking shows online, they have people underneath the counters who are pulling down dishes and everything like that. I have Father Steve on the camera, and we have guests here, but then nobody can be pulling down the dishes. Everything looks immaculate. You go to Ina Garten or Gina De Laurentiis there, and everything's perfectly immaculate, but this is a real kitchen. So then you put in baking soda, a baking powder, a tablespoon, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So that's going to go in, huh? Okay, very good. And then what else goes in? Caraway seeds. Caraway seeds, it depends on your taste. This is what they look like. And 1 to 3 tablespoons. Now I put 3 tablespoons because I love caraway seeds. So they're going to go right in there. Okay, 3 tablespoons. And then you put in 2 cups of milk. Right in. Notice there's no soda water in this. Now the best ingredient of all is the raisins. Now I'm going to come over here, Father. So these raisins have been soaking in Jameson whiskey for the last 24 hours. So Jameson's is this. I'm sure anybody who's Irish knows Jameson's whiskey. So they've plumped up. Can you see how raisins are really dry, but when you soak them in, well, you can even just soak them in water. But this adds a little Irish flavor to it, and they kind of plump up. So we're going to put the raisins in, but I'm going to drain them first. Put this over here so Father can see it. So we're going to drain them into a bowl, and I'm saving the Jamesons because the raisin-flavored liqueur is really nice, an Irish meal at the end of the dinner. So you want to save that. You don't want to lose that. Now the other thing you have to do, put this here for a second, is you have to flour the raisins. And the reason why you do that is so they don't sink. And the first time, a few times I made it, they sink to the bottom if you don't flour them. So I have about 3 or 4 tablespoons of flour here, and I'm going to put the raisins into the bag with the flour. Nice, nice. Okay. Shake them around a bit so they get some flour coated. They look like those Raisinette candies that you buy in the store. See how the raisins are getting coated with the flour? So you just kind of shake it around. Then you're good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix all these ingredients first, and then I'm going to put the raisins in. So let's get the mixer going there. Now this past Friday at our church, we had a takeout fish dinner, and it was a tremendous success. We're doing our Feast a New Way this year, as we did last year. And then we also had a 50-50 raffle going on, and at the end of this show, we're going to draw the winner. The jackpot went up to $1,250, and the winner's going to get $625. So we did very, very well. And of course, all the things we run here, fundraisers, are ultimately, are school-driven, church-driven, and they help all the aspects of the school out, of the church and the school out. So we're very, very happy that people supported the fish dinner and the 50-50 raffle. So now I'm going to put the raisins in. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
So we have, was it 1 cup of raisins or 2?
Let me tell you. Give me a second. I'll look over here at my cheat notes. It was a half a package of raisins. So the box the raisins come in the typical size box. So it was half of that. Okay.
And then the other question is, how much of the baking powder did you put in?
Yes, I will give you a second. I wish I knew these things by heart. But 1 tablespoon of baking powder.
1 tablespoon.
1 tablespoon. Okay, so I'm not going to shut this off. I'm going to pour the raisins in. There they go, those nice Jameson-soaked raisins. And I'm going to put it on slow. And while that's continuing to mix, the other thing you have to do is you have to, let me move the raisin liqueur over. You must butter the pan. I'm going to use an Angel food pan, but you can use a loaf pan. Angel food pan will take only an hour in the oven. A loaf pan will take an hour and a half at 350 degrees. So the first thing I'm going to do is again soften butter, and I keep the wrapper on it so it can help. Just so you know, I washed my hands for a good 2 Hail Marys. That was the proper time. And so your hands are your best instrument in the kitchen. So I'm going to butter the pan. Now, the Angel food pan, the top, this comes out, okay? So I usually just do this first because it's just easier, huh? And you have to, the inner core you have to butter as well, huh? Okay, got that all, because this helps with when you upload the cake. What do you when you take the cake out? When you upload the cake. Not when this is downloading the cake. This is when you upload the cake, when you take it out. But this helps to make it come out easier. All right. Now, if you're using a loaf pan, it's the same thing. You just have to butter and flour it as well. So this looks pretty good, I think. Okay, we're going to adjust my handy-dandy garbage thing. And then it must be this. Yep. So then I'm going to put flour in. So into the pan that has the butter, I'm going to put flour. Oops. And some goes on the floor, but that's okay. And then you're just going to try and move it around the pan. Now, I'm not so much of a baker, but this does work. You want to get the flour kind of attached to the butter, and it will. But it's not the easiest process. So do it over a sink, or your assistant, or your spouse, or whatever, or the kids, and they get all white hair. But you want the flour to be, and then you just kind of hit it to kind of, you can do it one more time. It does make a mess, but that's fine. All right, and then I'll just get rid of the excess flour. Perfecto. Now, this is all mixed. I'm going to take it out of here. Take this lovely mixture out. And I'm going to pour it right into this pan. And it should go in very nicely. It should spread around on its own, and you're going to be good. Now, of course, I have one already made to show you. But since this freezes well, it will go very nice on the teacher's snack table in our school for St. Patrick's Day. It will not go to waste. There we go. Just put it down a little bit, and there you have it. Looks nice, huh? Can you see just, I mean, that's how it looks, huh? Yeah. And then this will cook for an hour at 350 degrees in the back of the oven. And you know it's done. You stick a knife in or a chopstick, comes out clean, it's done. What I find I have to do is to, I put the broiler on at the very end just to brown it slightly. Now let me show you what it looks like. Let me get the Jamesons out of the way here, because I have a lovely one already done. And so since this is live, I've actually forgot to do something. I usually put a little green food coloring in, as I did with this one. And you just put a drop in, and you don't want to make the whole thing green. You just put a drop into that batter, and then pour the batter in, and just stir it a little bit, so that the green goes throughout the cake and doesn't turn the whole cake, the whole Irish cake green. Now we're going to let I don't want to ruin your appetite for dinner, so I'm going to just cut. Sound like my mother, don't I, huh? See now the raisins, the caraway seeds, the little green in the center there. Okay. Just a little bit in half here, so a little more that didn't come out. So this is home cooking at its best.
It looks great.
There we go. So so even if you don't like it, just say it's good, okay? So it's very unlike Irish soda bread. With a little butter on it, you know? I could just eat this all night.
Good.
That really is good. Thanks, Ma. Wish it was still with us, but this is so good. My sister knew I was making this tonight, and she said, I got to make some for the boys tomorrow. So anyways, so that is the Irish bread cake. So very different than soda bread, but still the taste of Ireland, I think. With the caraway seeds, the raisins, yeah, I think very, very nice, huh? Good. So 2 more things to make. The first thing is my Irish potato gnocchi. This is really Italian, but I figured because potatoes are very much a staple of Irish cooking, and I'm going to make with a pesto sauce, but a different pesto sauce with baby spinach and walnuts instead of the usual basil and pinoli nuts. So it'll be a little bit different. Just see if this is cooking. Get that going a little bit. Good. So what you do with this recipe is you bake a potato first. So actually 2. And with the potato gnocchi, and this is actually going to have ricotta in it as well, you want the potatoes to be dry. So baking them is the best way to make sure the potatoes dry. So I baked these about an hour and a half ago, and then you want them to come to room temperature. You don't want them to be hot. So I baked them, and they're still in the skin. And you want to use about 1.5 cups, and usually 2 russet potatoes is about 1.5 cups. Now, you can mash them, and that's fine. That will work. But if you have a ricer, it even works better. And I happen to have a ricer. It just gives a little bit of a texture to them. All right? So it's 1.5 cups. I'm going to put a little bit more of this potato in, because I figured this container of the ricer holds about 1.5 cups. So, see if I can do this correctly. And you're going to see that the potato comes out looking like rice. And it helps with the texture of the gnocchi. It makes the gnocchi more pillowy if you do it this way. Now you have a little bit extra potato on the ricer when it comes out, but that's fine. You've got most of it in with that. All right, so you have the potatoes. Let me get the skins out of the way here. There we go. This garbage can is great because I don't have to touch the lid. It opens up by itself. It's just most wonderful. So we got the potatoes in there, huh? And they've been baked and everything. And then you want to add, just stir in the flour. And it is 1.5 cups of flour in my coffee mug, my usual morning coffee mug here. It's a very large size. And then we put in 1/2 cup of whole milk ricotta. It's just like this. And then you're going to put in 1/4 cup ground Parmigiano Reggiano, not the stuff in the green can, but the stuff that has the letter G in it. All right? Not, if it has a letter S in it, throw it away, stomp on it, do whatever, but don't use it, okay? And then 1 large egg. Very nice. And then salt and pepper to taste, which is about that much. All right? Good. And then you're going to mix it together. Now, in the end, I'm going to have to use my hands because I'm going to start mixing together just like this. And this is your gnocchi recipe. And it's sometimes people make it just with ricotta or sometimes just with potatoes, but this has both, all right? So once I get it kind of blended, then I'm going to go in with my hands. All right? And you want to make it into a dough. So it will come together. It's a little sticky at first. It will come together in a nice dough. So you keep putting the flour in. You keep kind of folding it over. And you'll know when you get a consistency of a dough. It'll feel right to you. Because in the end, you're going to have to roll it out, cut it into these little pillow shapes, and either use a fork or a gnocchi tool in order to make it. All right? So I can tell it's coming together already. And there's still a little flour on the bottom. You just put the dough and collect up all the flour and all the little bits. Let me move over to our celebrity diners so they can see it as well. Sorry, Father, I went right out of your camera. See, so it looks like a bread dough almost, you know? And then you can feel it. At first it's very sticky. That's right, we don't want to knock over my drink. At first it's very sticky, but then it comes together, okay? You pull it off your fingers and, you know, cooking's a messy business. Keep folding it into each other. And the nice thing about gnocchis, once you make them, they freeze very well. You put them on a sheet pan, you have them separated from each other, you freeze them, and then you take them out individually and put them into a Ziploc bag, and then they're all not unstuck to each other. Same thing with corn on the cob. Mm-hmm. If you want to freeze corn on the cob at the end of the Usher corn season, you cut off the corn, you blanch it, put it on a sheet pan, and let it freeze, and then put it in, because then you won't have these clumps of, yeah, so that's the way to do it. So this is feeling pretty good to me, I think. Has the right, so my hands aren't sticking to it anymore, but it's just a little bit of stick to it. So now what I'm going to do is bring it back over here to our counter. I'm going to wash my hands because my hands are like glue hands. And I'm going to roll it out, and I'm going to show you. I have a special gnocchi tool, but you can just use a fork, really, to roll it out. So in order to do this, you have to put, I'm in your way, Father, I'm sorry. Put a little flour on your countertop. And then you want to get a piece, but I'm going to go right in here for a second, Father. I forgot to bring this out. I'm going to get a piece of this dough. Looks about right. Okay. And I'm going to roll it out. Let me dry my hands. I want it to become too moist. So you have some flour here, and I'm trying to think. I'll be here. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see. Okay. And you're just kind of rolling it out, and you have to get it. You don't want to press too firmly down, because then you'll flatten the whole thing. But you want it to get to about 18 inches. So you keep rolling until you get it to about 18 inches long. So it'll take just a little bit. You might throw some more flour in there. Sometimes you have to stretch it a bit. Now, a friend of mine, his Italian grandmother, this would be so easy for her to do. She would just, boom, would go in. And me, it's like I'm just rolling and to get it more. But you kind of stretch it out a bit. Keep on rolling, 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 rolling. It's about 12 inches. I really want a little bit more. But if I can't get it that far, then I won't. So maybe this is about 14 inches. I'm going to stop there just because I could go on, and then you can save the dough and make more later. Then what you want to do is to cut it into little pillow shapes. Okay, can you see how that looks like a little pillow? I'm going to show one.
Wow.
Okay, so you look little, and gnocchi should taste fluffy. They should taste pillowy. Sometimes you go to a restaurant, they taste hard, or they have to taste very light and airy. That's what you want. There we go. Now, I'm going to do two ways here. I'm going to bring them over here so I can show, and then show and tell. So, can you see this, Father? So I'm going to put these are just like that is fine, okay? But if you have this little tool you buy in Italy, on the Via Giulia, you go down past St. John the Baptist Church about a half mile, and it's a kitchen store, and they have everything. Anyway, so you buy it there. The lovely lady, I can't remember, I think her name is Margarita. So, and then you just push it down, and it gets those nice lines on it. Okay, let me show you again.
Nice.
You don't want to push it down too hard. Actually, you can get this kind of little contraption on Amazon, okay? Do it with the fork, too. It doesn't come out as good as that, I don't think, but so it's still, you get the lines, but not as thin
Right.
as the other ones. They're a little bit thicker. But the back of a fork will work fine, too, you know. If you don't have the proper gnocchi tool, you can use a reasonable facsimile. And you don't even need to do this, okay? All right, there you have it.
Nice.
And then you freeze them, and let me show you, because I have them in a bag here. I already did them on the sheet pan, so they're all individually there, and we'll be having this later with the pesto sauce I'm going to show you. Okay, they freeze up nicely, especially in the sheet pan. Then they're all kind of individual, huh?
Great.
And you can cook them fresh right from here. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have to freeze them. Just put them right in. They'll cook in 2 or 3 minutes. As soon as they come to the top of the pan, they're done. Put them on sauce and serve them right away. All right. Hello. Oh well. Now, let me show you the sauce we're going to have. This is going to be a pesto sauce. Let me cover the gnocchi here, because I'm going to put it in the refrigerator and make them later. Give me 1 second, everybody. So what we're going to have we're going to have a pesto sauce with them. And this is a variation. Pesto is a concept. The typical pesto is basil and pinoli nuts, a little garlic, and a little hot pepper and Parmesan cheese. But this time I have this whole Cuisinart filled with baby spinach. Okay? So if I'm going to take a look at that. And into that, I'm going to put, I'm going to put walnuts. Now walnuts, a similar flavor to pinoli nuts, and a lot cheaper. But pinoli nuts tend to be rather expensive. I would say 2 tablespoons into a Cuisinart full of spinach. It's about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to press it right in, okay? And then what I'm going to do is, I like to put a little garlic in, but I like to roast the garlic first. Mm-hmm. Let me show you what I do. So I've already roasted some. You take a garlic, you cut off the top end, put in aluminum foil with olive oil, salt, and pepper, 400 degrees for about 35 minutes. Then it comes out looking like this. okay? And then you just squeeze it out into more olive oil. Kind of squeezes out. It's very soft and mild. Okay, it's almost sweet. And then this garlic, we have olive oil, you can mix with cream cheese, you can mix with ricotta, you can just spread it on a piece of crostini. And it's because it's mild. So I'll put just maybe two of those cloves of garlic in there, like that. Yeah, perfetto. And then I'm going to put some grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Where's my grater go? Right here. So I'm going to grate it fresh, but you can find already grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Again, don't use the green stuff. Get the good stuff. It's much more expensive, but the flavor is completely different. The Romano cheese, the Pecorino Romano is a good alternative. That's fine too. There, okay. And then what we're going to do is going to kind of grind that up, and I always put one little pepperoncini in. So I have these I get from Italy. I haven't been to Italy in a year, so I'm running out of them, but that's the way it goes. So I'm going to grind this up first. And I have to press it down a little bit. Get a spoon here. So you want it kind of grind it up, and then you're going to add your olive oil. And then the sauce is done. And it's all a matter of taste. So now, being ambidextrous here. Stop putting the olive oil into the top, and it'll stop coming together. Not sure if you can see it, Paula, but how it's all coming together, huh? So on the top, there's like little holes into the Cuisinart thing. And that's what's allowing the olive oil to go in more slowly. And then what you want to do is just taste it. And if it tastes good, you're good. Needs a little salt. Yeah, that's really good. I'm just going to put the rest of the olive oil in, and that'll be fine. As long as you get the first batch done with kind of slowly done. And there's your sauce. Want to take a look at that, Father? Let me just double check to make sure the taste is fine. A little more salt, isn't that funny? Anyways, so we're going to have that on top of the gnocchi. And then finally, I'm going to tell you about my wild Irish rose ice cream. So luckily enough, sorry about the counter space, I make my own ice cream. This is the bowl we use. This is the mixer thing we put in. This attaches to the KitchenAid thing, this thing. And then make ice cream. It works fine. You have this in the freezer for about 15 hours, and it's a salt mixture that's inside there. So yesterday I decided, well, I'll make a batch, you know. And then this broke. I don't know what happened. It broke. So I frantically went online to figure out how to make ice cream. And they said, well, just do it the normal way. You get a whisk, this one, and a metal spoon. You just keep whisking for about a half hour. You keep scraping it off, and it comes out fine. And it did. In fact, on my iPad right over here, I have pictures of me doing the process. There it is. Can you get that, Father? So there's the whisk. And so I'm making rose ice cream. Now, why rose? Well, I had rose ice cream in Italy, believe it or not, at a Chinese restaurant, and it was absolutely delicious. You use the cream, the milk, what else is in it? And rose water. Cream, milk, sugar, and rose water. And you buy rose water online. And it has such a lovely, lovely taste. It's just so different. And I thought because of, well, my wild Irish rose, that'd be nice to have for our dessert. And so we have it. I wish I could show you, but that mechanism broke. But here is the rose ice cream.
And just a little food coloring, right, Father?
Yes, so just a little red, like one drop. Otherwise, it turns bright red. If you want pink, just one drop, huh? So this will be our dessert, but it's easy to make. If you have an ice cream maker machine like I did, it works out very well. If not, then call me, and you have to have the bowl with the rock salt and everything in it. But it did work out fine. So I was going to show you how to make that tonight, but the machine broke, so it didn't quite work the way we wanted to, but that's what happens. So anyways, my Irish side, we had various things we made tonight, and now I get to have a little dinner with Mrs. Guinness and Mrs. Saglio. And then what we want to do before we end, and thank you for coming, for telling us about our Mount Carmel School and about Bishop Stang School, two great schools in our area, and we are so happy that both of you are in the administration of those schools and leading those schools with such care and diligence and fun as well. So we thank you for that. But now we have to draw our 50-50 raffle. So it's $1,250 is the total amount, so we give 50-50, so we give half, so 50% of that is $625. So anyways, here are the tickets, and we've been rolling this box around for a long time, so to get everything all mixed up and ready to go. So Mrs. Saglio is going to come over, and she's going to draw the winning ticket. Now, please don't come running here because we're going to have dinner, and we'll get you the money in the morning. You know. So let me open this up here. There you go. And you have to look the other way, you know, and just grab a ticket, and let's see who's the winner. Only one. And the winner is Mr. and Mrs. Ziobro. Mr. and Mrs. Ziobro, Ziobro. So congratulations. I saw you guys at Mass. I think it was the 9 o'clock Mass this morning. They were over there on the far left side. So congratulations. You have now won $625. So thanks for coming to our cooking show this evening. A tribute to my wild Irish side, I suppose, and it was fun to be with you, and then certainly with having our celebrity diners with us as well. It was a great treat to be able to talk about our schools and the great things that are going on with Catholic education. So God bless you all. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I hope you learned something new tonight. God bless you all.
For the springtime of life is the sweetest of all. There's never a care or regret.